All right, going live in 3, 2, 1. Well, this is Olivia on Air. We're at episode number 17. Hello, Olivia. 17. We're getting up there in the numbers. It's pretty high.
Yeah, almost 20.
Yeah. How long is that? How many? It's like 3 months worth of shows now. I guess is that right? Or almost no, 4 months of shows.
I
If you put
think, yeah.
if you put them back to back, that'd be a little over 4 months. So that's pretty good. So we the as far as everything going on, is anything interesting going on with you right now?
Um, well, I'm a little down in the dumps. Also, there's a mosquito in my room, which I just saw, and I feel like that's really disrespectful of that mosquito because it should know that I'm trying to do like a podcast right now. Um, anyway, I'm a little down in the dumps. So, as I've been ignoring my schoolwork, I've been making more crafts and baking bread and cooking soup, which I think it's okay. It's good.
Making bread and cooking soup. Oh,
Yes, like an elderly woman.
uh, the the what kind of bread do you make? Is that Go ahead and tell me. I'm trying to envision people making bread. How describe that?
I made sweet bread a couple times, which makes 4 loaves, so I had a lot of bread. I made sweet bread a couple times. I made brioche buns, but the fun thing was that I didn't look up what they were supposed to look like or like what how the dough was supposed to feel. So I ended up adding like 3 more cups of flour than there were supposed to be, but they still turned out really, really good. Maybe not like they might not have been exactly brioche, but they were bread and that was pretty good. And then I made focaccia bread like 2 days ago, and it's almost gone. It's so good. That one is really simple, and if anyone ever wants to get into cooking, focaccia bread is probably the way to go.
Hmm. I'm not
So,
even. I've never even heard of that. What is that?
I don't have like a picture on my computer, but I can email you one really quick. It was really fun to make. It's um it's really simple ingredients. It's like
If you could spell it, I could type it out. We could do a quick search on because I draw a blank on how to spell that word. That just kind of gets me right there.
it's F O
Hold on a second. Hold on.
C. Okay, go
Here,
for it.
I'm bringing the search up right now. Okay. Okay. FOC.
FOCACCIA.
Okay. Cool. All right. Here we go. Oh, interesting. I'll bring it up on the screen for us to look at.
It's pretty versatile.
There we go. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Does yours have the? Would you do decorations like that?
I did simple decorations because I didn't know how exactly it was gonna turn out. But it turned out really, really good. It's I did sort of something sort of like that. I used the yellow bell pepper for like the middle of the flower and then the red bell pepper for the flower petals, but I only did 2 of them just to see because I didn't know if it was going to make the bread soggy or whatever. It kind of did, but it was good. It's good with like hummus um or with the soup that I made, so
Now,
it's
if
really nice.
when you make the bread, do you? I mean, it looks like it's a common thing here to make it look like with art on it. I mean, do you make the bread and feel like maybe I shouldn't eat it and I should put it up for display?
No, mine was like rudimentary like it didn't look anything like that. It was just like 2 flowers with like some sprigs of rosemary as like the stems. But uh sometimes like with the brioche buns, I did look at them and I was like I shouldn't be eating these. These are too beautiful.
What was the other thing you made too? It was beside the bread. What was the other thing you said? I forgot already.
Soup. And then I also made like peanut butter brownies, but I gave those to my dad to bring to his work because he kept bragging about my cooking. So then I was like, well, I have to give them something to like, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
to
interesting.
show him what my dad's talking about.
Peanut butter brownies. I have never heard of that before. That sounds. I used to eat peanut butter by itself. I was just out of the. I used to buy a jar of peanut butter and just eat it out of the jar. Um, is it taste? I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Is it just basically okay? Oh, I think I have seen. This looks very very familiar. Maybe I have it. I just didn't know what they were called. So.
What mine were, it was from a old Toll House cookie dough, like recipe book my mom got in like the 80s. And they were called peanut butter brownies, but I would call them blondies because there was no cocoa powder in them. So it was like the actual kind of cake part of it was like peanut butter. It was like a blondie, but then there were chocolate chips in it. That's what made it like
Hmm.
brownie style. And in my opinion, they had, well, okay, so eggs and baking powder are both leaveners. I'm pretty sure baking powder is a leavener, which like means that it makes the dough rise in the oven. And the recipe called for 3 eggs for brownies, which is kind of weird because usually brownies have like two, or even just one. Um, and then with the baking soda, they called for 2.5 teaspoons, which seemed like a lot because it was. And they ended up being more like cakey than like a brownie, you know?
Hmm.
Or like a banana bread or something, more of a bread or a cake than a brownie. So if I do them again, yeah, they didn't look like a proper brownie. So
You got
yeah.
these ones like these little swirls. Now that looks like something like peanut butter right there. So
Yeah.
uh but yeah, I remember seeing things like this. It, I remember whatever I've had it was either something similar, but it looks good. It looks like I'd like to have some of them right now just looking at these pictures. So the as far as your dad took them to his work. Did he say his coworkers enjoyed them?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
I feel like I'm pretty good at cooking. I if even if I make a mistake, it kind of comes out well, which is nice.
I have this thing where I say I can cook anything as long as it's scrambled and as long as it's eggs. Otherwise, I can't cook anything. So, um,
Yeah. And I also made soup with lentils and tomatoes and green beans and carrots and potatoes and um some other stuff, I think.
okay.
Oh, soup.
Was the is the soup is that special? Is that something special, or is it just a common thing?
I don't think it's special. Soup, if you want to get into cooking, soup is like the easiest thing because you really just cut up a bunch of vegetables and then like throw them in a pot. It sounds like it would be hard, but it's actually really easy to do.
Hmm. I used to get I know it's not the same cup of noodles. It was like it'd be all dry. You just put hot water in them, and those
Yeah,
were
that's pretty easy too.
that was I used to eat that a lot. So in fact, I was doing some cleaning around my house, just getting rid of a lot of stuff that's been building up, and I found an old cup of noodles that must have been at least 12 years old. so,
Ew.
so I just tossed it out. So,
Was
uh,
it like cooked or?
no, it wasn't used. It was just unused. It was still sealed
Oh.
and everything. So not used. No, I didn't. No water ever touched it. So
Oh, gross.
I was kind of curious though to see what would happen if it went water, and I just tossed it though. So, um, I will say, some of the cleaning I've been doing recently is I used to have a tenant. They used to when I had my in my first house. He was like more like a roommate, but he was technically my tenant, and for some reason he loved bringing other people's throwout items back to the house. So like he would find old TV sets, he'd find old electronics, he'd just bring it back to the house, say, "Look, this stuff is so good." And I have no idea what he thought he was trying to do with why he would do that because I didn't want any of it. And I this past weekend, when I sold that house, I bought this one. I ended up just taking all the stuff he brought over that he brought to the house because I had to move pretty quickly. I didn't throw any of it out, so it's been sitting in my basement for like the past 17 years. That's how long I've lived in this house. So I did do 2 large carloads of his old junk that just hauled it off to that's something I should have done 17 years ago. I just finally took it up to the dump and dumped them all. So uh,
Right.
these are TV sets like old tube type TV sets. So Not flat screens, but tube sets. And I remember the guy at the dump. He said he was real friendly. He said, when those go into the crusher, because we put them into these big, large metal containers. When those go in the crushers, those take a while to crush. He's like getting all, he seems like he was getting all excited to see them get crushed. So I had, I must have had, I think I had two or three small TV sets and probably three or four old tube type computer monitors. They were also, everything was tube, no flat screens. So when he saw those go in, he just seemed to get real excited about it for some reason. So it was kind of strange.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be fun to see him get crushed. But also, one time I saw this picture of someone who had like taken one of the like old computers with the, the fat ones and had made like a cat bed out of it, which was really cool to see. They like took out all the innards and they just had and they like broke the glass front of it and they like took out like all the glass and everything that was in it and all that stuff. And then they kind of cleaned it up and I think they painted it like a color and then they put a little light on the inside. And then they put a little cat bed on there. And then they took a picture of their cat that was sitting in there and I thought that was really sweet. It was a good way to like, oh yeah, right there. It's a
Yeah.
good way to like
Yeah.
reuse it rather than like cuz cats probably I mean they like, little dark
It's
areas and like small
uh
spaces like a box.
huh. Well, some of them did.
So they
Yeah.
probably like that.
The last one, my cat that before she died in 2019, she would never go inside anything. So it'd be like the funny part is I've always all my cats except for her. Anytime it would get freezing in the house, they would like try to cuddle under like a blanket or something to keep warm. She wouldn't even do that. She refused to get under a blanket. She hated that. So
That's so funny.
and but I could imagine maybe some of my cats I've had over the years maybe doing this, but definitely not her. She would have been like, nope, nope, not for me. I do know. This reminds me of when I was a kid. My dad made a large cat house, like have like a dog house for them because our cats were outdoor cats, and he didn't want to bring them inside because my mother was allergic. So it had in order to get into the house, it had like like a little hallway, and it went down, and then there'd be the large area where they could rest inside. So that was like a maybe 4 by 4 feet by 4 feet, the whole little living area, as you could call it. And we put it out there, and the cats refused to go inside. So they would.
Oh, that's so mean of the cats. Oh my gosh, that sounds like a real fancy thing to do for cats that are outside.
Yeah, and we waited. We kept on hoping they'd go in there, and they just didn't like it. So I even tried. My dad even made it so like since there was a little tunnel since we couldn't see inside to where the cats were, we could lift up the lid, like made a lid so for the top of it, so we could open up to see if they're inside there. We even tried putting them in there, and they just walk back out. So
Oh, that's unappreciative.
and we yeah, I remember. I mean, nowadays I would never let my cats outside, but I remember when I was a kid, we'd never let the cats inside, which is kind of funny. So, the idea of having cats inside back then was just unheard of. Now it's like I wouldn't even let them out, primarily because where I live, it's just too many bad things out in the. I mean, I live out in a very rural area, so there's too many ticks, too many any other things. I told you I got fleas at one time recently. I think it was last year I got them. I don't want
Yeah.
to get that again. So fortunately, it's the only time I ever caught the fleas in the house, but I just don't want them to get anything. And there's a lot of deer around here, and deer have Lyme disease, and I don't want to deal with any of the, sick little kitties, running around with Lyme disease or anything like that. So
Right. Yeah, plus cats, I mean, it's safer for them to be inside, and it's also safer for the wildlife outside for them to be inside because cats are actually a menace. Like stray cats and feral cats, it's sad because like they don't live very long if they're out in the wild, especially if they're not spayed or neutered because they breed so much that they die like at like 5 or 6 years old, which is really sad.
Hmm.
And also they they like have caused the extinctions of a couple species, especially like island species of like small mammals and birds and like amphibians and stuff because they're so good at hunting. they're like that cats are so agile and so they're just so they're such efficient hunters that they just like they kill a lot of stuff around them if there's like kind of like packs of stray cats, and it's actually a big problem in Florida. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that stray cats. I think I don't know. I don't know about the like the middle of the United States, but I know that on the East Coast and the West Coast, Florida has the most stray cats that I've ever seen out of any of the other states.
Really?
It's
I
really
didn't.
bad, yeah.
Is it really bad where you are? Uh,
It's pretty bad where I am. It's kind of just bad all over Florida. They're just kind of like I don't know. It's sad because there's a lot of people see a stray cat and they just like don't really want to help them or they don't know how.
mhm.
And there's not really enough organizations that can like help them in a humane way where it's like they won't, take them into a shelter and wait for like however long and then have to put them down. And so I don't know. It's just like I think more people should know about it. There's a lot of stray cats around here and they don't have a lot of solutions for it
The
right now.
yeah, the problem I've seen when I've seen stray cats is that they were raised without being around humans. So when you try to walk up to them, they want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
They
And they're
are.
so agile. They can get away so easily. It's hard to trap them or anything because they're so like adept.
Mhm. I stopped at this picture because that cat looks like the one I was just talking about. That's my female cat. In fact, while we were talking, I brought up my. I don't know if I've shown you this. If I did, forgive me. But here's my picture of my two cats that died in 2019. So that's her on the.
Oh,
So yeah, she was my buddy. And then this cat on the left, he's also dead. He's not to be confused with the one that's in my avatar. The one in my avatar is a completely different cat. So I purposely got one that looked like. I tried to get one like her. I couldn't find one like her because she's hard to find. So she's a red point Siamese, which are they're not really rare. There's just every time I try to tell someone, I ask if I can find one, they go, "Oh, you want a Siamese?" I said, "No, not a Siamese, a red point Siamese, because
right.
they have like
That's
a
cute.
little bit of orange in her face there." So, but
There are
oh,
these cats that I've seen that look really really cool. They're the cats that look like Dobby. I don't I looked that up and it came up with
Dobby,
yeah, they're
what's that?
like Dobby cats.
Dobby. I'm not sure what that is. Dobby. How's that spelled? Dawby.
Hold on. There's like a real name for them. Oriental short hairs. That's
Oh,
what it is. I
Orient.
just know them as the cats that look like Dobby.
Oh, yeah.
Because Dobby is a character from Harry Potter and he looks like them. They look so fun and like their faces are so big and weird. I love them.
As I said, that's why you got. I've never seen any of the Harry Potter movies, so that's why I didn't know what you were talking about. Sorry.
It's okay. They are so adorable to me. I don't know why. And they honk instead of meowing. I think it's great. They're so weird.
Oh
That's
my
the
god!
picture I was looking at. They're so weird looking. And they're so long. It's so funny.
Wow, I don't think I've ever seen that. I've seen odd looking cats. Are these considered house cats? Are these
Yeah,
domesticated?
they're
Oh,
huge though. They're like small dogs.
oh really? Oh,
Yeah.
are they friendly? Are they all? I assume that they're all domesticated. They're all friendly to humans
Yeah.
in general. Okay.
Well, as domesticated as cats can be.
Uh-huh. Wow, that is quite interesting. I've never seen that at all.
They
Are
are
they
cool looking.
are they rare?
I don't know. I don't think so. I just saw them on Instagram one time because there was this one that is famous. I don't remember what its name is, but it honks. It honks like all the time. Um, and I just thought that they were so interesting looking. I mean, like, I like cats and dogs. I'm more allergic to cats than I'm allergic to dogs because I have dogs. And I think Oriental short hairs and I know color point short hairs are hypoallergenic. Not like totally hypoallergenic, but they're like, they'll make you sneeze a little less.
Uh-huh. The
So,
I was the my sister is a very much allergic to cats, but she loves them, so she takes allergy medicine just so she can have them inside her house all the time.
yeah.
The here I brought up what you're talking about.
That's
Like,
it. Yeah, Teddy. The one of he's Teddy is the one that I first saw.
oh, okay. Let's see. Let's see what channel. I'll give you. This is Hob Hobacat's channel. So if you want to go see his channel, just giving credit. So I'm not stealing anything here. So
What's wrong?
almost sounds like he's sad.
Where is it? All right, come on, Teddy. Teddy, come on. Where's your toy? Where is it? Come on.
Okay.
You can hear it's like a half meow, half honk. It's like some of them are more meows, but some of them sound like someone's honking one of those like those those bike horns.
Mm-hmm. I can
It's
hear that.
great.
Yeah. What the two cats I have right now, the one that's on the avatar right now, as his meow, he can't do a full meow for some reason. So he goes, hey, hey, hey. I think he has
That's
something
so
wrong.
funny.
I think there's a nasal, some sort of sinus issue or something. I've never had him checked out, but I don't think it's serious enough to worry about it. But oops, gotta bring him. Hold on a second. There we go. The other cat I have just has a normal meow, but every time so because of that, if I'm not in the room with him and I hear a meow, I know which one is making. Well, I can't. The other one's the one his meow is so faint, I can't even hear it unless I'm close to him anyway. So. Uh,
Right.
so if I hear the meow, I know it's the other one. I know which one is actually making the meow sound. So, but yeah, I don't know when I first got him. When he was like 7 weeks old, he couldn't even meow. He would just go ha ha ha. I was like, what? I thought he was coughing, and then I realized he was trying to meow, and it was really.
Oh.
And then when he got to be full grown, he actually started going yeah 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 like I did before. I'm not doing a good job, but it's I don't know. He just sounds kind of he sounds like he just sounds like you need to take care of him, like he needs to be taken care of, like he's a little baby. So all right, well, let's check our question from last week. I was actually brought it up a couple of times accidentally there. So do you like sleeping in warm or cold temperatures? 54% majority right now with warm, 35% with cold, 5% 6% with either, and then 5% with I don't sleep. So I think it was about the same as before. I don't remember. It was 2 weeks ago, so I don't remember what we had before as far as the percentages go. The votes are pretty good though. 2,600 votes. That's pretty good. So nice participation there. Let's look at
Yeah,
the
definitely. Thank you guys.
what is warm, what is warm and what is cold. The for the warm over 30 and cold is under 24. I think he's using the metric system. Uh,
Yeah.
Other people may consider over 18 warm and under 5 cold. Yeah. Don't sleep. I think that's impossible. So far, only 5% of my watchers are consultant or irrelevant bankers, don't which don't sleep. uh, Investment bankers. I'm sorry, investment bankers. Sorry, I couldn't read that there. Russian. I can't read it. Sorry. More Russian, or I'm not sure what that is. Uh, let's see. I'm not sure what the name is. Knife browser 69. It says hell nah, sweaty ASI, stinky as ASF, excuse me. No thanks. um, Not too cold and not too warm, half warm. And Sandeep Mohanar gives a lot of comments a lot on these. Says I would like to sleep in cold weather conditions with my blankets over my top. Oh my god, it's heaven. Yeah, the same. And are you? Oh, he's asking if I do GTA 4 videos. Yeah, I have. I think I have about 100 GTA 4 videos on this channel. So yes, very much so. So if you go back there, you'll see them. And we got in the comment section, we got Trong and saying hello, and Alejandro said left a little heart for us earlier. I didn't say anything before that for her, so I'd say hello back to everybody. So, how do you feel about that?
That makes sense. I mean, I feel like I didn't explain it like very well, and the question is a little ambiguous just because I feel like what I meant was, do you like it when it's kind of like a colder temperature around you and then you can like use blankets to make yourself the right temperature? Or would you rather it be a warmer temperature and, use less blankets, I guess? Because the Sleep Foundation said that, like, I think it was somewhere from 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit is like a good sleep temperature for most people. It's
Hmm.
like where you get that a good REM sleep cycle or whatever, because it's like colder, so your body can shut down better or something.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that. Yeah, I know if it's too cold, if it's too hot for me, I have major issues sleeping. So that sounds about right for me too. I know I still have my air conditioning on. That's how well you're in a warmer climate all the time, most of the time anyway. But for here, it's still air conditioner weather. And I if I don't have it on, I will wake up in the middle of the night and I feel really like crap and I have to walk over and turn it back. I, I think I've only done it like once or twice. So I've just been leaving it on most of the time. But I just walk up and oh my goodness, I got to turn the air conditioning on. It's because I can't sleep because it's just too warm. So
Yeah.
and then a couple of winters ago, it was so cold. Um, I think it was 2 winters ago. I dropped down to like 20 degrees, like for several days, or maybe in a couple weeks in a row. And it was like unbearable. I didn't have I have central heating in the house, but I try to keep from using it because it costs more. So I just use small little portable heaters, like sealed up. They're like little heaters, like what do you call them? Oh, they're electric heaters that have like oil inside them that heat up, and then I use those a lot, and not even that was enough, and that was keeping me up at night. So, but fortunately that didn't. But yeah, it's the extremes really get to me. So I that what you said sounds about right for me.
Yeah, I feel like it's about right for most people. My dad is a lizard and he likes sleeping in the heat, and he likes just being, he belongs in Florida basically, in the temperature of Florida of like a million degrees.
Oh, it's interesting. It's, I guess some people can do that. I admire people that can do it. How about like when it gets cooler though? Does he get does he not like that, or how does he deal with the cooler stuff?
I think he just wears more layers. I like the cold, and so does my mom. So
Hmm.
we just call him a lizard.
So you have a question for our viewers for this week?
Yes.
Okay. I'm
Do
also
you like luxury perfumes and colognes?
luxury. I know you. There we go. Perfumes and cologne. Okay, cologne. Yeah, and I can't spell.
GNES.
I'm not even looking at what I'm typing here. Sorry.
It's okay.
What was it? How's it spelling? Oh,
CLO.
yeah, I'm not doing that right.
Sorry. COLOGNES.
There we go. Thank you. Oh, that's not right. That's all right. There we go.
Close enough.
There we go. Cool. All right. And all righty. Would you like them to give examples of that too?
I'd say, so I feel like luxury perfumes and colognes is like anything from like 75 to $300, because I know there's some like perfumes and colognes that are like hyper luxury, super niche perfumes and colognes that are super super expensive. And there's some that are luxury brand, but they're not as expensive. Like Calvin Klein perfumes, some of them are, I think, 60, 70, $80. So
Oh, so
ranging from like 70 to $300.
okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, did you want them to say like give examples, or just want to have it be a regular poll where you just say yes, no?
Just like a regular poll. Probably the first one could be like, I like being stinky, because that could be fun to see who chooses that. The second one could be yes,
Okay,
and then no, and then like,
I don't care.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Fuck is good. I like being stinky. Yes, no, and I don't care. Do you like what? Okay, we're good. I'm gonna go ahead and
Yep.
put. There we go. Oh, that's interesting. Yes, it gave me a poll. How satisfied with creating posts on YouTube today? How do you feel? I'll go through them. Very satisfied. I'm sorry, very dissatisfied. And it says a little frowny face, a sad face, like a blah face, a happy face, and then very satisfied with a big smiley and a laugh. How would you
I'd
feel?
say happy face.
This one right here?
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, please, please tell us why. Okay. I like the features present in post creation. Everything was as expected. My posts are getting good engagement. Able to connect with my audience. Was easy to use. Something else. I know.
Um,
I know the posts are definitely getting a good engagement for sure. So that's definitely in there. Able to connect with my audience is also pretty decent. Uh, features. What would you go with?
I'd say able to connect with my audience because that's like exactly what we just did.
Okay. Thanks for feedback.
You're welcome.
There we go. Cool. So we'll come back to that. Alrighty. So this week's movie was The Dark Crystal from 1982. And this is a movie you had never seen before. Is that right?
Correct.
And before we went live, you said this was very strange. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I don't know why. It was like a bit of a different weird from the weird that we've been seeing, if that makes sense. I got a little more confused. I think maybe it's because I watched it over like 3 days and I had like school stuff in between and that kind of made it like more disorienting.
Hmm. Okay.
So if I had watched it all in one go, like I did with the other ones, maybe it would have made more sense. But I don't know. It was a little like weirder.
Weird. So comparing it to last week's movie, because they were both directed by this, they both had puppets or Muppets, whatever you want to call them, and Jim Henson directed both. How would you how would you rate it compared to that one? Would you say it's better than last week's? And by the way, last week's for those who 2 weeks ago, excuse me. What was it? Labyrinth. Labyrinth was.
Labyrinth, yeah.
How would you compare it to Labyrinth?
I don't like it as much as Labyrinth. I feel like I don't know why, but for me, the whole like puppet thing, that concept is on thin ice for me. And the fact that they didn't have any humans in there at all was just like, I
Mhm.
don't really like it that much.
The
But I liked it with the humans because it kind of gave it an element of like something recognizable. And maybe it was just like I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to say something that might sound kind of strange, but the when I saw this when I think I was 14 years old when I saw this, and I saw the little female, what are they called, gelflings? Is that what they're
Yeah.
called? Okay, I'll bring that back up for here so I can look at this. I thought she was so cute. I wanted her to be my girlfriend when I was 14 years old. So, and I'm watching this movie now, I'm much older, and I'm like thinking to myself, what was I thinking back then?
I feel like at that point our brains kind of just try to find cute in anything.
Uh-huh. And I thought she was so adorable and everything. I was like, and I wanted to get to know her better. Like, but I mean, when I look at her now, it's like she's just average. I didn't think anything at all this time. So, but I just thought I'd bring that out. I thought it was so bizarre how I thought that back then. I don't feel anything at all at this time. I don't think I've seen the movie since I was 14. So all I remember is I thought she was really cute, and I watch it now like, no, I don't feel anything at all.
That's definitely not like a weird thing though, because I was watching this interview with this musical artist called Doja Cat, and she said that they asked her some of her animated crushes were, and she said, "Have you ever seen A Bug's Life?"
I think so. I know the movie for sure. I'm
Right.
pretty sure I've seen the movie, and it came out like early 2000s, right? Is that right? Or late
Yeah.
90s? Okay.
Yeah. I love that movie growing up, but she said that one of her animated crushes was the grasshopper
Oh,
from that movie. So, I think kids, I don't know, their brains are really weird and like I don't think it's unusual to like have kid crushes on like
yeah.
non-human things.
The only thing that scared me, and I didn't look it up, was that maybe Frank Oz did the voice. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, am I attracted to Frank Oz? So, of course, Frank Oz is he's a well-known does puppets. He did Yoda, and directs a lot. He's directed a lot of different movies as well. So, but let me see. Actually, I can close this out here. Let's see what was her name? Do you remember?
um oh, I just forgot it. Um was it
Doesn't look like he did her voice. No, so I'm not sure. I think it was actually a female. Oh, here it is. Kira. Oh, so here. This is the woman that did it. So, and the funny part is, I'm not even. Sometimes I'll think like somebody has a very attractive voice. I didn't even think the voice was attractive this time. So, um, just kind of interesting. Yeah, Catherine Mullen. No offense to Catherine Mullen, of course. I'm just saying it. But anyway, other than that, as far as the movie, I remembered parts of the movie. Other parts I did not remember. So what was you had the Skeksis, right?
yeah.
And then what was the other ones? The ones that were kinder. I can't remember what they were called. The wiser ones. What were they called? Oh, I just saw it
The
too.
It was something with an S. It was like no.
Goodness, we both watched it. We can't remember now.
The Ursus? Was that what it was?
Hold on.
Something with an S.
And nobody's so we got one person in the chat. He keeps on saying hi as we're asking. I was hoping you'd come up with the right answer for us. I'm gonna find it. It's I know I'm gonna remember as soon as I see it. Hold on a second. I'm bringing it up over here so we can both look simultaneously. The plot synopsis. Where is that? Missing Dark Crystal. Plot summary. Here we go. Let's see. One time, Crystal was damaged. Race of. For some reason, I remember this. Oh, Mystics. Mystics. That's who they were.
Oh yeah.
Okay, there we go. Mystics. So
There's S's in there.
yes. So the basic plot of the movie is long before the story takes place. You have the Dark Crystal, and it partially shatters, so a little shard of it comes out. I think I think that's how the plot works. And
Yeah.
because of that, the mystical beings separated to become the more darker side and the more lighter side. So the darker side being the Skeksis, and the lighter side being the mystics. And mystics look like a bunch of old men with gray hair. It's the Skeksis are a bunch of skeleton-looking creatures, and they're kind of I'll bring some of them up here. Very kind of scary looking. There's the shard that came out of the dark crystal. The Skeksis are very bony looking and more scary looking. There we go. That's them right there. And as the movie goes along, you start to realize that they're connected somehow. So if you don't know how the plot works, on each side, there's only a certain number that are left. There's like maybe a dozen or so. I don't remember the exact number. As one dies on one side, another will die or disappear on the other side. So, and it turns out as the time progresses, you find out at the very end of the movie that they're actually the same, that they got separated because they don't actually reveal that to the very end. And once the shard is placed back into the crystal, they both become one again, and they become these uh, like alien type beings. I'm not sure how to describe them. And then they just float away, and that's the end of the story. There they are, right there. So
That's what that was. I was confused at that. I was like, there was so much going on, and then parts of it reminded me of Spy Kids for some reason. I don't know why. And then I don't know. I just was confused. I was confused at what was going on. But that makes more sense when you talk about it like that. That makes a lot of sense.
and to the gelflings, the little male and the little female gelflings, they're the last. Well, as far as we know, there might be more, but they're the last of the gelfling race because the Skeksis did not want the prophecy was that one of the gelflings would come and put the dark crystal back together again or reinsert the shard, which was they kept on talking about the prophecy, and when that happens, the everything would change, and they didn't want to change. They wanted things to stay the same the way they were. So what happened
Right.
before the movie takes place is the Skeksis had gone and killed all the or they thought they'd killed all the Gelflings. Obviously, there were a couple that were still left, and the so that the prophecy would never take place. And what was the male's name? It was Jen. Jen was his name, and then the female's name was Kira. And Kira was raised by the national like the animals in the woods, and Jen was raised by one of the or by the mystics, at least one of them for sure. I'm not sure if he was raised by all of them, but definitely there was one mystic in particular that was his mentor of sorts.
Right.
So, and the quest was to basically the mystics wanted the prophecy to be fulfilled. The Skeksis did not. And as far as the rest of the story, they meet. What was that? The weird woman.
Ugh, I did not like that part. She was very shrill. I'm sure she meant well, but I had to turn the volume down when she came on the screen. I can't lie.
Really, that bad,
Yeah.
huh? Oh my
It
goodness.
was, I don't know. It's just, you know how some voices you're just like, oh my God, my ears are bleeding right now. And it's just like, it's nothing against the person or like, there's no, you don't have any qualms with the person themselves. It's just their voice is like icky, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, so it wasn't like shrill as in loud. It was just irritating. As it didn't matter what volume level it was. It was just irritating to you. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That was she was performed by Frank Oz, by the way. So and Jen was performed by Jim Henson himself. Oh, this is something did I say this during our last show? And if I did, forgive me because I don't remember. But Jim Henson is from the DC area. Did you know that?
Um,
Washington
I
area.
think you said it, but I'm not 100% sure. You might not have.
Okay, so he's from the DC area, and he used to perform on what I think it was Channel 5, which is WTTG, a local, for those who don't know, local TV station. It's been around since TV started back in the 40s and 50s. And he performed. He did puppet shows on there, and he had I don't know if it was actually Kermit the Frog or a variation of what became Kermit the Frog. But he did puppet shows, and that's where he got his start. And he branched out and became as the famous puppeteer, and that's where it led to everything that he created. I think he went up to Sesame Street. I think that's where he got most of his fame was during Sesame Street, and then branched off from there. So
Cool.
the one thing I do remember is the neighborhood I lived in. I lived in a little town. I call it a town that was actually called Fairfax City, which is just outside of DC. And I had a neighbor down the block, and he would always say how he knew Jim Henson. He went to the same high school with him. So I'm not. That was his claim to fame, was saying he went to the same high school with Jim Henson all the time, over and over. And he was a nice guy. I don't know what he was obsessed with the idea that he went to school with him. So, um, and I did not know that because when I was growing up as a kid, Jim Henson had long moved out of the DC area, so he was not there anymore. So he'd gone on to his other things. So.
Right.
And as far as uh, getting back to the movie, was there anything else that really stuck out? I know you said it, or I'll say it like this: anything that stood out, or that was just annoying to you, because this was supposed to be a movie that scared children. Um, like we talked about, what was they like Hansel and Gretel? We talked about that.
Yeah.
So what are they called? The tales? What do they call those again?
The grit the
I know.
the grim stories. I
Yes.
suddenly forget.
Yeah, it's I can't remember. Is that what it's called? Grimm? It's something like that. If it's not, but yeah.
Yeah, the brothers Grimm who wrote the stories or whatever.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, it's basically designed to scare children. So
It definitely would have worked on me. I think I would have tapped out pretty early on, actually, as a kid. um, there wasn't really anything else that annoyed me. It just some of it was just a little confusing. I feel like I don't know. There was just a disconnect. But I did appreciate the artistry because I feel like this must have been really like what's it called? It must have been um really innovative at the time. Like really new and impressive to be able to do all this. There like are literally no humans and you know, it's all puppet and stuff like that. And all the art, I mean, like, you just look at that and think about, like, the amount of time that was spent on just that one head, the
mhm.
gluing the teeth in and the hair and painting it and all that stuff. It's really impressive. I mean, it's not a movie that I particularly enjoyed watching, but it is very impressive and very artistic and cool that they spent so much time on it.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't. I would say that as far as my opinion goes, I would say I go a little bit more than you as far as liking it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it or anything like that. So, um, it's okay. In fact, I would say I had the exact same reaction as an adult as I did when I was a teenager when I first saw this. It was like, it's okay. It's whatever. It's I could take it or leave it really. So, um,
Right.
and this is I stopped at this scene because this is one of the I would think would be one of the scarier scenes. Let me mute this down. I'll play it really quickly. Where he just kind of he looks all old and breaking apart. I don't want to get a copyright, so I'm going to be very careful.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was I thought that was kind of funny. It was I don't know why. It was just like the way he was just withering away. It would definitely would have scared me.
Yeah, I figured this would be something that might scare you and other kids as well when he just like starts to rhyme. I'm pausing it every so often so we don't get it doesn't trigger any copyright things. That's why I'm doing that.
And you
So
know what? It reminds me, have you ever seen the movie Stardust?
I don't think so. What was that about?
That one is it I really enjoy that movie. That one is it's this story about this boy who lives on one side of the wall. It's called the Wall. It's like it's in England, I guess. Um, he lives on one side of it, and he grows up wondering what's on the other side. And when he's like a teenager, he goes and finds out, and then I don't want to ruin everything, but there is a child, that happens. And then so he ends up with a son, and he raises the son, and then the son wants to know what's on the other side of the wall too. And he goes and figures it out, and then basically a bunch of stuff happens. It's really cool. I think that's it. I'm not gonna ruin everything, but there's one scene in it that heavily reminds me of this scene where a king is dying and I think there's some really cool actors in this one too. Anyway, where a king is dying and he's telling all of his sons, like, I don't know, he's kind of encouraging them to kill each other in order to get the throne, which I don't know, it just reminded me of this scene because like it was like a king dying on a bed and everyone looking around kind of like who's going to be the next in line, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because that was definitely what they did in this one. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
Okay.
like almost the exact same scene and everyone was kind of set up the same way. We could watch this one next. This one was I love this movie.
I don't understand. Robert De Niro, huh? Yeah, what he's in one of my favorite movies. It came out in 1988 called Midnight Run. So, interesting. Is he? What kind of does he play? One of the like? Well, it's obviously not a gangster movie, but he often plays like a gangster type character almost in most of his movies. I'm just kind of curious. What kind of characters does he play?
I don't want to ruin it because you wouldn't expect him to play this kind of character, I feel like,
Okay.
but it's a little bit different from what he usually does, I feel like.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
All right. I'm not. big fan of him in real life because he decided to make his political views known, and just like everyone else, I don't like when people start making their, whether I agree with them or not, I just don't want to hear it. But
Yeah.
and when people start acting like their political views are how everyone else should think, it's just like, okay, whatever, dude. I don't want to, I don't want to listen to you anymore. But I try to overlook that when I watch his acting because I do like this, some of the stuff he's in. So uh,
Yeah, I think you would like this movie. This one was really fun. And I don't think enough people know about it. I don't think it's like an underground movie by any means, but I think more people could watch it and
I
enjoy it.
I don't remember seeing this. So, okay, okay, well we can look probably, yeah. Let's talk more about that one when we yeah. That
Oh
seemed
yeah,
like
okay. Back to the other one. It just reminded me of the scene where I feel like that's a pretty classic scene to see where a king is dying and there are people around him kind of side eyeing each other and being like, okay, who's gonna be the next one to be king? Or like, who do I have to kill to be king or whatever?
and it was like this one, was there an actual, like in this one there was an actual sword battle of sorts. They were trying to hit a stone, which was it like that?
Sort of. There were there were definitely people fighting over the crown, but it wasn't in like it was more of like mental fighting some of it, and I think they were using like druids to figure out where the other people were and all that stuff.
Hmm.
They had to find. I think they actually had to find a. Yeah, they had to find a a gem that had lost its color. I can't remember if it was a sapphire or a ruby, but they had to find it. And then whoever their true heir was, the color like flushed back into the gem. It's a cool kind of hard to explain plot. I'm also not really good at explaining plots, so asking me about them is kind of you
That's
know you're
that's
gonna
cool.
get kind of a jumbled up mess. But it was good. It was definitely good. And it did remind me of this where there was just like chaos. Because I feel like that's probably what happened a lot in real life. Like when a king would die and there were like multiple heirs, it must have been like kind of uncivil for a while.
Yeah, and in different civilizations too. I would assume it wouldn't be kings. Like you could also in Native American cultures too. I believe there would be something similar to this as well. I think I've said this. I'm a huge, one of my two favorite areas of study are Native American history and American Civil War. So I could see certain cultures in Native American history. Not all of them. Every each one are, they're very distinct. But I could see some of them possibly going through something like this as well. So
Yeah, it's all very interesting, I feel like.
the no, I gotta say this sword, the battle, or do you want to call it, where they're striking this stone, I thought it was a little unfair because whoever knocks off the top of it first wins, basically becomes the heir. But the one who hits this with this, every time they hit it, it becomes weaker and weaker. So the person who actually hits it and knocks it off is actually gaining the benefit of all the previous strikes that struck it. So he's not. How's he really the right heir just because he knocked it off? I mean,
Yeah. It
he's
definitely didn't seem like it was ruled by logic, like their whole like their civilization or whatever. It seemed like it was more brawn over brains. The sword is mightier than the pen in their area because it's kind of like a game of Jenga. It's not really
I've never played Jenga.
something that you should
I've
base a
I don't
big
think.
decision on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead. Uh, yeah, Django. Is that that's one where you stack the little things up? Is that right?
Yeah, you stack up blocks in like a log cabin sort of way where like one of them the first layer is I oh how do I explain this? The first layer is going in one direction and then the second layer is going in the opposite, and it just kind of keeps piling up, and then you pull out the little blocks and whoever knocks over the pile loses. And
Oops.
it's like not really, I don't know, it's fair, I guess. It's just like it's kind of dumb. I don't know. It could be a fun party game or something, or if it's a game with kids or something, that kind of makes sense because they can learn balance and stuff. But like, it's not It's
Okay.
you shouldn't ever base any decisions off of it, you know.
Yeah, I actually I may have played this now that I think about it. But long ago. I didn't if I played it was only once or twice. But yeah, I know the basic premise of it though. In fact, it looks more familiar as I look at it now. So I don't. It was probably something I played with family once or twice. Maybe my sister had it or something when we were younger. I don't remember having when we were kids, but maybe when we were well, she's 7 years younger than me. So basically, when I was maybe in my early 20s and she was like a teenager or something like that. Maybe I was over where at my where I, we were together and we decided to play it. It's starting to look a little bit more familiar. So
Right. But
gotcha.
yeah, it's like, and it's like if someone in that group was stronger, then they probably would be the one to like win the the game or whatever, the
Oh
sword game thing.
yeah, but I mean, you know what I'm saying though is the basically the stone is already weakened from all the strikes to begin with.
Yeah.
So so the one who actually strikes it down is not really how's he the winner? You know,
Right. Yeah.
so, I mean, if they had a fresh stone, like two stones that were made identically in every way, and they each took turns hitting the stone, their own separate stone and knocking it off, then that would be a fair thing. But this is not fair. So,
Right. It's like those, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there are these competitions where it's kind of like lumberjack competitions where they use axes and stuff, and they each have like a log or an amount of logs that they have to chop or something, and then they go through those, and then they have to like saw their own, I don't know, it's like a wood logging lumberjack competition. I don't know. I've seen it on TV a couple times just because like my dad had it on or whatever. You
mhm.
know, when there's like a little bit of an odd channel and you're just kind of like watching it. I don't know what they're called, but it's like they each have, 20 logs to chop, and whoever chops them all first wins or whatever, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, I've seen. I've periodically seen some of that stuff. I know what you're talking about. I haven't watched it intentively, but I have seen it though. So, but yeah, you're saying basically they each have their own logs. They're not using the same log, is what you're saying, right?
Right.
So it's more equal, more fair, is what you're saying there. So, uh, the as far as I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Um, there was something I did want to talk about. Yeah, there is a right now, and I was trying to remember what it was called, but there is a show that came out a couple years ago that is a prequel to this, and they do the show itself. They use a lot of puppetry. I have not seen it at all, but I did when I was looking on the internet, on YouTube specifically. I was looking for this show, and then looking for this movie, I should say, and then I was able to find the show itself, and I remember hearing about it, but there were a lot of people reviewing it. Here's the show. It's called The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. So, as I said, I've not had a chance to watch this, but a lot of people say it's pretty good. The puppetry, they went back to the idea of using puppets, but there is some CGI mixed in there. And when Jim Henson, before he passed away, stated that the story of the Dark Crystal ended, so there can't be a sequel. So what you see at the end of the movie is it. There's nothing more. But he did say, and there's an interview I watched this on the internet. There's an interview where in the same interview he did say that it does leave open for side stories or different stories to branch off from this. So I believe this is what's going on here. In this one, all the Gelflings are still alive. So, and this is before they're wiped out. And that's the story of Liam. So a lot of the characters that are in the Skeksis and the Mystics are actually in this. As far as I know, the two main Gelflings that are in the movie are not in this though. So maybe they'll eventually show up later on or something as babies or something. So I don't know.
Right.
But all the Gelflings in this one are completely different new ones that are created for that. And they've actually gone to great efforts to keep the characters original. The ones that do make appearances from the movie, they keep them as authentic and genuine and like they are just in the movie. So they don't try to change anything. So
That's cool. That can be fun, definitely. I feel like for people who like the movie, that would be interesting to see, especially how they would make. I mean, like, do you think they're gonna make the puppetry look similar and like use this similar film cameras or anything?
I'm not sure about the cinematography or the camera work, but the puppets definitely look very similar. Yeah, they're definitely keeping trying to keep true to the original art form as far as the puppets go, for sure.
Right.
The last new episode was August of 2019, so it's over 2 years ago now. So I don't know if they're going to make any more new ones. So there's definitely one season that's out, and there's no indication of a new one right now. So probably like everything during 2020, everything got put on hold for a while. So who knows? It may come back, it may not. So, but
Yeah.
if you're anyone out there watching the movie is a fan of the fan of the movie, I would definitely, I have not watched it, but from what I've seen people say that did like it and they're reviewing it, they definitely said this is worth watching if you want to watch, if you want to see more of it. So personally, I probably will not go watch it because like I said, I could take or leave the Dark Crystal. It's okay. It's not something I would go out of my way. So if this TV show would probably be the same. It didn't sound like there's anything add that would make it more special to watch versus the movie. It'd probably be just more of the same. I'd be like, okay, it's interesting, but there's other stuff that I could watch that's on instead. And not to downplay the creative edge or the time that's put into this by any stretch. It's just not something I'd be interested in. So
Right. Yeah. And that's like, I feel like that's important to note is like when we say that we don't like a movie, it's not that we think that it is, it shouldn't have been made or anything like that. It's just that it's not for us.
right. Is Frank Oz in this? I'm just curious. No, I guess not. No Frank Oz. His name isn't Poppy. That's interesting. Since he was such a big part in the movie, I thought he'd be in this one too, but no, he's not. So interesting. Uh, I don't. I saw a couple of making of videos. I didn't really see very much, so I can't really say much more about it. So it looked interesting. It definitely looked interesting. So anything else? Did you like to give this movie a final grade, or do you have anything else you wanted to add to this?
I don't really have anything else to add. It just kind of, I don't know. It was very artistic. It just kind of lost me at a few places, I feel like.
Oh, I do have something I want to add. Did you want to say something first? I'll
No,
remember.
go for it. Go for it.
Okay. I will say there was a scene at the end where Kira, the little female gelfling, where she's trying to save. She tosses it's right up here, where she tosses the shard, and she gets stabbed. I was like, I thought that was pretty. That scene was kind of emotional. I thought that was like, oh, she died. I was like, I actually got, oh my goodness. And then of course she comes back, but it's like, so it's kind of you lose the emotion after that, unfortunately. So, but I did think that was done pretty well, that one scene. So, other in the fact that she actually died, if they let her die, it probably would have been a more stronger story, in my opinion. But I guess they wanted to have a happier ending, so they brought her back. So,
Yeah, I feel like it's a bold move for like something that's supposed to. I mean, I know it's supposed to scare kids, but for something that's supposed to be a kids movie, I feel like you don't normally see death.
mhm.
But yeah, I think if they had let her, that's kind of how it usually works. Is like if the author or the writer lets the character die, it's more of a powerful thing. But it's kind of easier to avoid getting yelled at by fans if you don't kill off one of the main like favorite characters. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to add on to that. Quentin Tarantino said that during the up to the 1970s, that movies, that there was a transition, and it was taking place around the time this movie came out. That during up until the 1970s, the main characters of the movies would get killed off, and that was actually a common thing. It wasn't until the 1980s that the people started making movies where the main characters, the heroes of the story, did not die, or maybe died and then came back. And he actually doesn't like that kind of a story. He likes it if this character, not that he wants characters to die necessarily just for the sake of dying, but if it adds to the story, like you're saying, and makes it more compelling, or he would rather have the main character get killed off, or one of the main characters get killed off, just to make the story seem more strong, have this more a stronger edge to it, or maybe emotional attachment or emotional aspect to it, I should say. um
Right.
and he didn't like the fact that almost since the 1980s there has been this push that the main characters always survive and they never die. And this movie is one of those. It seems like one of those examples. So, and
Yeah, yeah. It's actually like a pretty, I really think that the topic of like how writers kind of like manipulate their characters and stuff like that, I think that's pretty interesting. Um, but oh, hold on, what was I gonna say? um, oh yeah, when I feel like when they kill their characters and then bring them back to life, it's kind of like proving to their audience that their audience can't trust the writer. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh, so when you write something that should be in real life, that should be permanent, it you can kind of like reverse it in your world. So like with the Marvel movies, it's like whenever there's a character that's killed off, nobody takes it seriously anymore because everyone's like, "Oh, they're just going to bring them back somehow." You kind of lost the trust of the audience and you've lost the believability of something as heavy as death, you know? I feel like it kind of bothers me when someone does it too much. I feel like every now and then is fine if you want to bring a character back, but like there should be other times when it's like, well, this character is gone and they're gone for good, and it's like, you know, I don't know. It's just it's kind of like, and I mean, some writers, you know, trust from the audience isn't necessarily something that they're super concerned with. So that's also fine. It's like it depends on what kind of stories you're writing and what you want your audience to feel. If you want your audience to feel distrust, then that makes a lot of sense for like killing off the characters and then bringing them back to life and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm definitely not an expert on it, and I'm just really interested. And I watched this one channel called Overly Sarcastic Productions, and they just like they talk about tropes and stuff like that of like characters being killed and things like that. And I've just been watching it a lot. So yeah, basically, I'm not an expert or anything. I just think it's interesting.
Hmm. Okay. I will add about characters being killed off. Have you ever seen the Star Trek movies or the earlier ones from the 1980s?
I
Um,
have not.
in Star Trek 2, this is not really spoiling anything, but one of the main characters from the TV show gets killed off at the end of the movie, and it was like wow, that's it was a pretty powerful thing. It was the character Spock, and at the next movie they actually bring him back, but the way they bring him back is not in a way that's like you expect him to be brought back. And it was actually done. I think it was done one of the few examples where it's actually done okay. It was okay to accept the fact that he was brought back. So um, this this story right here, though, I don't think bringing her back was. I think it would have been a stronger story. So, in my opinion, if they just let her die.
Right.
So
It's definitely like a delicate thing. Like you can mess it up pretty easily. I feel like.
yeah, and you're talking about the Marvel movie. I've never watched. Oh, I might. Well, I take that back. Is Iron Man a Marvel movie?
Yes.
Okay, I saw the very first one. So aside from that, I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen any of the other Marvel movies except for a couple of minutes. I just didn't know what was going on. So it's not that I thought they were bad. I just couldn't figure out what was going on. So I just.
Right.
But yeah, I I didn't know that they did that. So I was,
There's a few I've seen. I think I've in the beginning of quarantine I watched all of them with my friend. Like we watched them all because we were roommates and we were like quarantined together, and so we just watched them like all of them in a row, which was a lot. But yeah, they kill characters off and then they bring them back to life. And sometimes it makes sense for their character, and sometimes it's like, oh, you kind of just want to do that for money. That's okay. And so it kind of, I don't know. It's just like sometimes it gets a little annoying because it's like, oh, this is supposed to be, and I'm not saying that it's just Marvel that does this or, whatever, but it's like you're thinking like, oh, this is supposed to be a really emotional scene, but I know in the back of my mind that, in like an hour when they bring the character back or whatever, it's not going to matter that much. And that kind of makes it lame.
yeah, I can imagine. Yes, yes. And I'll give you an example of a movie that it came out in 1971. It's called Vanishing Point, and I'm going to spoil the ending. The main character gets killed at the very end of the movie, and it's kind of a it's a very it's a very kind of a it has a specific kind of audience. So I'm not saying you may or may not really care for the movie as a whole, but the as far there was a the entire movie is basically a man reflecting on his life, and he's running from the cops during the whole. It's a long police chase, but he's also reflecting on his life and where he's been, and there's a lot of flashbacks throughout the whole thing. And at the very end, he just basically he crashes his car and he dies, and that's the end of the movie. And I've seen people review the movie on YouTube, and these are usually younger people who just didn't understand what movies how movies were made in the 60s and 70s. That yes, the main character would get killed off, and they're like, I don't get it. This doesn't make any sense. And they're just going on because he died. How could he die like that? It's like, and the people in the comments are trying to explain to him that there was a reason why he died, and they just don't, because they're so used to seeing the good guy, the main character, the hero of the story survive. It just doesn't make any sense that they can't click. It doesn't click to them. So
Right. I feel like, I don't know, deaths can be very tricky to pull off.
hmm yeah, and also getting back to that movie, they made a remake of that movie in 1997. The first one came out in 71. The second one came out in 97. The second one was not a theatrical movie. It was actually a made for TV movie. And at the very end, they tried to keep true to the original story. He also appears to die, but they hint at the fact that he might have survived. So it kind of ruins it a little bit with if you're a fan of the original. But so I don't completely hate that idea, but it still is like they didn't need to add that. They had this little mythical legend at the end that said maybe he survived and he went back to find his daughter, who because his daughter, he wanted to raise his daughter and didn't want her to be fatherless. And it was like, okay, you could have left that part out. They didn't need that. They didn't specify if it actually happened or not. They just kind of hinted that it did. So I think they're trying to fill in that idea that we don't have the main character die, and the idea of the main character dying just didn't meld or mix well with the 90s kind of culture that people are not used to seeing the people get killed. So
Yeah. It's interesting how filmmaking follows trends in the same way that, like, I don't know, everything else does. I feel like before we started doing the podcast, I didn't really think of filmmaking as something that follows trends in a similar way that, like, as like fashion and makeup and stuff does. But it's definitely opened my eyes. Doing all this has definitely opened my eyes to see, like, filmmaking totally does follow trends in a very similar way.
so, and then of course you have the movies that are more timeless, though. They would you say they fall into that, or would you say like they're more timeless in the sense that they follow like they use like the older Star Wars movies? Have you seen those?
I have not.
Okay, that would be I guess the have you heard of the hero's journey? That's
Yeah. Yeah.
that's more that's more of a timeless thing, I think. So, and the hero's journey, whereas the original Star Wars movie followed the hero's journey. So that follows more of a timeless quality, has more of a timeless quality. So it doesn't seem to follow the trends. Do you think that the trends make it more dated if you try to watch it later on?
I think that sometimes trends are, I mean, like, I just mean like little things that kind of, I guess, date yeah, I guess date the movie or the show, but like the overall plot can follow like a timeless sort of direction, but some of the like little things in how it's made, it can be dated, written, like disregarding camera quality and stuff like that. It's like trends, as in, like, you're the whole, like, um you said before, in the 70s and earlier, it was common for the main character to die, and then after it started to not become common. That's kind
I,
of like a trend that you could kind of see.
yeah, I would say maybe not common per se, but maybe more like is acceptable.
Right.
So I don't
And
know
they
if you.
wouldn't be brought back to life or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I gave the example of Star Trek being like that was like the turn of it. So the main character got killed. And actually in that movie where Spock got killed, he originally wasn't supposed to come back. What ended up happening was Leonard Nimoy, who played the character, enjoyed his time on the show, on the movie so much he said he wanted to come back and direct the next movie. So essentially his character is there, but he's not really in the movie except for like the very, very last couple of minutes. So So it's more or less him just getting a chance to be a director rather than being part of the acting part of it. So,
Oh,
and it was pretty good because he's actually not bad. He's actually a pretty decent director, it turns out. So he was. He passed on. So okay. So how would you rate this movie? How would you give this?
I
Uh,
give it I give it a 5 out of 10. Nothing super fabulous, nothing, you know, horrible or anything. But that old lady gets a 2 out of 10.
when she pulls out her eyeball and holds it in her hand and looks around. I didn't find her that annoying. I will say, since you brought her up, not her exactly, but her home, or whatever you want to call it, that thing on the hill that she lived in. I thought that the contraption she had looked kind of interesting. So they put a lot of effort into that as well as that thing that's in the background there. I thought
Yeah,
that was cool. So I
that was
remember
definitely really cool.
I remember being in the Air and Space Museum in DC, and they had something similar uh, several years ago. It's probably gone by now, but it was just kind of interesting to see that. So, but yeah, I could see how that she could be very annoying. I honestly did not find her annoying like you did, though. So but I can relate because I found other characters and other stories and movies annoying, so I can relate in that way. So
You're right.
I
What would
would
you rate it?
I was gonna say about 6 or so. I give it a 6. So I would definitely recommend it for fans of Jim Henson for sure. People who like fresh new stories because this is, as far as I can tell, it's it doesn't seem to be copying anything. Um, so it's definitely unique, its own story. So it's not a rehash of anything. And if you're looking for something that's good, I would say oftentimes people say if you see something when you're a kid, you'll like it better. You'll like it more as an adult. I saw it as a teenager. I was like 14, so I don't know. I didn't really care for it as much. So I don't know if for me that doesn't seem to be the case. I'm not sure if all the other people who saw it when they were kids, if they liked it, and they liked it as adults. Maybe that's why they like it. But I don't think this has a very strong following to begin with. So it's more like just a cult following of sorts, anyway. So.
Right.
But yeah, that's how I'd say. I would say if you like that kind of, if you like, so especially if you like the puppetry, like you said, you admired all the art, the work that was put into this, and I agree.
Definitely.
This was, everything they was fantastic. I was trying to think of the right word to say there, but yeah, they did a very good job on that. But yeah, the story itself and everything, yeah, it's up in the air how you would actually feel about it, if you the viewer would actually feel about that. So, alrighty, so we can go wrap everything up. And let me bring our question back up. I was about to almost forgot. Here's our question here. Refresh the screen. See what we got here. 89 votes so far. Do you like luxury perfumes and colognes ranging from $70 to $300? I like being stinky. 61%. Oh, we got 3 responses. Maybe the third one up. There we go. A Gucci. How do you pronounce that? Gucci.
Gucci Mane, yeah.
With that OGK cologne XD. Sandeep Mohanar, regular contributor, says no, I don't like it. It's better to stay away from perfumes as it causes some cancers. Does it? I didn't know that.
I don't know about that. Do your research on that. Everyone do your own research on that.
I never heard of that before. Okay.
Neither have I.
And Brandon P. Is that the same Brandon P? We have another. It looks like he has maybe another channel because usually when he logs in, we have another person that says Brandon P. I assume it's the same person. No, it doesn't say NASCAR shorts on his thing though. No, because I enjoy sniffing the sour aroma of my armpits too much. LOL. Okay. I think at this point people are not taking this one too seriously.
It's because we use the word stinky.
Stinky. Oh, and I didn't go with the other ones. Next down with is that 16% with I don't care, 13% with no, and only 5% with yes. So yes is trailing. Interesting. So not too many people at all on this one. I have a feeling that this one's probably the percentage-wise is going to pretty much stay the same.
Yeah. Well, stinky is a really funny word, and who wouldn't like being in the stinky category, you know?
So, alrighty. So, everyone, thanks for watching, and we'll come back to this one next week, and we'll come back and also thanks for participating in the poll, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.